This week was Pakistan's test for democracy as the country went to polls. It's been a perilous election, one marred by poll violence and internet shutdown. Mobile services and land borders were both shut due to only avoid potential security threats, wherein over 40% Pakistanis turned up to vote. Initial reports have now suggested that Nawaz Sharif's party PML-N is leading these polls in a year when the all-powerful Pakistan military is using its familiar playbook to sideline its biggest nemesis, former Prime Minister Imran Khan and his party, the PTI. The election comes almost 2 years since the previous Prime Minister Imran Khan was ousted in a no-confidence vote. Three-time Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif is now on the ballot in what many analysts say is Pakistan's least credible election yet. While the world awaits the decision on these polls, the country has seen years of economic turmoil and has had to go to the IMF multiple times only to seek a bailout. Now, Aisha Siddiqui, who is an author and expert on South Asia and politics of Islam, and author and human rights activist Amjad Ayub Mirza joined me in a conversation about how Pakistan election is playing out. Let's listen in. Polls in Pakistan are predetermined, even more with PML-N's victory almost certain. Aisha, I want to ask you, do you believe that this is going to be a free and fair election in Pakistan?
See, right now, elections are being, informal results are being announced, and so far we don't know. We could end up in a situation where there are quite a considerable number of independent candidates or parliamentarians. Then comes the second task of, where do you push these independent, or where do you pull these independent parliamentarians, which side? So there's going to be a lot of real politicking, a lot of force and coercion that will happen. We are assuming at the moment that, the Mian Nawaz Sharif is one of the likely candidates to be able to form the government. Unless the results come, we wouldn't be able to say if he's going to be the prime minister, but he's definitely one of the favorite prime ministerial candidates.
How democratic is the poll now, considering violence has also been reported?
First of all, I don't consider these elections fair elections, or I don't even think that democracy as we know in the West exists in Pakistan, because these elections are taking place under the watch of the Pakistan military generals. And that is one aspect. The other aspect is that there is massive boycott going on against these elections in Balochistan. And in several areas of Balochistan, young women have stormed into the polling stations and they have snatched the ballot boxes, throw them out. They have ripped apart all the those voting paper. They have set them on fire, actually. And even in far-flung villages, you can see men holding ballot boxes and taking them away to throw them. Similarly, in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, it has been reported by the Pakistani media that several polling stations have been taken over by the Taliban. So where are these elections taking place? In Asif Zardari's constituency, or maybe in Nawaz Sharif's constituency, or a little bit outside of that in Punjab. So these elections, voter turnout is very low. And in some parts it has been lower than 1%. In some parts of Punjab, up till now the voting has closed. Not a single woman has been allowed to cast her vote. This is 21st century.
Aisha, I want to ask you, given Mr. Nawaz Sharif's own contentious history with the Pakistani army generals, do you think that the army would also want to elevate his brother, former Prime Minister Mr. Shehbaz Sharif, who is much more differential to the army, maybe less popular with the public? How do you think the vote is going to play out? I know you did shed some light in the beginning, but when we look at the army's role over here.
If Nawaz Sharif comes into power, that's what your question is, how is he going to deal with the military? I think they both are trying to test each other a fourth time. What the military expects him is to kind of keep his passions in control, which means not go for trying any generals that he suspected were involved in overthrowing his 2013 to 2018 government,
All right.
uh, and bringing Imran Khan in another rigged election in 2018. The other thing is, of course, becoming partners. I mean, the military wants him as a willing partner, in economic uh, kind of build up, revamping of Pakistan.
All right, fair enough. That's a point I will take. And Amjad, I want you to weigh in on what Aisha has said. Having said that, how much rests upon this election, not just with regards to Pakistan's economy or even the security situation in the country, but also vis-a-vis the bilateral relationship between India and Pakistan?
First, let me give you this figure that I've just received in Zamaran in Balochistan. They in the one of the polling areas, their registered voters are 3,000, and the voting is closed down now. Only 52 votes were cast. Secondly, talking about violence, in the past 4 days, there have been 29 bomb attacks in Balochistan alone at different polling stations, on the convoys of candidates campaigning, and also in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, there have been attacks on offices of different candidates. Now, I don't think that Nawaz Sharif will be able to mend any serious ties with India, because anything that betters the relationship between Pakistan and India puts the military narrative on the back foot, and it leaves the Pakistan army with no excuse to be in the driving seat of Pakistan economy, politics, social life, or whatever. So I think this will be a weak government, and Nawaz Sharif would be lucky if he can pull through for the first 6 to 9 months. I don't see that happening. I see it a weak parliament, more crisis. Pakistan has to pay more than 23 billion US dollars in debt servicing alone. There is no money. Where is that money going to come from? There is serious unrest going on in Pakistani occupied Jammu Kashmir and Pakistani occupied Gilgit-Baltistan.
So he was just hoping that Pakistan's finally able to break that kind of history that it's seen of governments not being able to complete its
No, it's
tenure.
not possible. It's not possible.
I'd like to still wrap the
Why would you
conversation
like
on a
to
more
say something that
optimistic.
is not possible? It is not possible.
Let's see how this pans out, Mr. Mirza and Aisha Siddiqa.
Only through a people's revolution can the masses defeat this army. There is no other way. You can't defeat them through elections. They've got the gun.
Aisha,
Pakistan
would you like
is
to
not
weigh in
India.
on what he's saying?
There's nothing to weigh on. I mean, let's wait and see what kind of government is formed. I mean, I don't want to jump ahead of the queue and say
Right.
things.
At least
Yeah.
till the 22nd of February.
So he has a point of view, and Mr. Mirza has a point of view. The thing is, and the fact is that it's not going to be smooth sailing for anyone who comes to make the government in Islamabad. And there will be, if Mia Nawaz Sharif is there, I think he will need a lot of intelligence and smart kind of politics in order to kind of partner and govern under the shadows of a military whose army chief is very aggressive, has a mind of his own, and is ready. He suspects every single politician. And months before these elections, General Asim Munir had stated that he suspected all politicians as being dishonest. So with that kind of a thing, that kind of a partnership, I'm sure things are going to be less smooth than what one expects.